My name is Robert Sterling, and I ran Sterling Memorial Services in Beverly Hills from 1985 to 2010. We weren't just any funeral home. We were the funeral home that Hollywood's elite trusted with their most sensitive and secretive final arrangements when a major celebrity died, especially under controversial circumstances. Their families didn't call the Yellow Pages. They called us because we specialized in discretion, damage control, and making sure that whatever secrets a star took to their grave stayed buried. Over 25 years, I handled the final arrangements for some of the biggest names in entertainment. Actors, musicians, directors, producers, people whose deaths made international headlines and whose funerals were watched by millions. But what the public saw at those carefully orchestrated memorial services was rarely the whole truth. Behind the scenes, celebrity families made requests that were sometimes bizarre, often disturbing, and always designed to protect something more valuable than gold in Hollywood: reputation. Let me explain how celebrity death works in Hollywood, because it's nothing like what happens when ordinary people pass away. When a regular person dies, the family's main concerns are grief, closure, and honoring their loved one's memory in a meaningful way. They choose burial or cremation based on the deceased's wishes or religious beliefs. They plan services that reflect the person's life and values. But when a celebrity dies, especially unexpectedly, the family's first concern isn't grief, it's crisis management. Within hours of death, before the body is even cold, teams of lawyers, publicists, and image consultants descend on the situation like emergency responders at a disaster site. Their job isn't to mourn, it's to control the narrative surrounding the death and protect the celebrity's brand value, which often represents millions of dollars in ongoing revenue from royalties, licensing deals, and estate assets. As the funeral director, I became part of that crisis management team. My job was to handle the body and burial arrangements in ways that supported whatever story the family and their representatives decided to tell the public. Sometimes that meant conventional funeral services with appropriate dignity and respect. But other times, it meant participating in elaborate deceptions that bordered on fraud. Let me share some examples. They'll be changing names and identifying details to protect the families involved. Even decades later, these secrets could still destroy reputations and cost estates millions of dollars. In 1987, I handled arrangements for a major TV actor who died of complications from AIDS at a time when that diagnosis was still heavily stigmatized in Hollywood. The family was terrified that if the true cause of death became public, it would destroy the actor's wholesome image and end their lucrative merchandising deals. They asked me to work with their doctor to falsify the death certificate, listing heart failure instead of AIDS-related complications. When I explained that I couldn't legally alter medical records, they offered me $50,000 to find a way to make the AIDS diagnosis disappear. I refused the bribery, but I did agree to handle the embalming in a way that would hide the visible signs of the actor's illness. Advanced AIDS often causes dramatic physical deterioration that's obvious even after death. Through careful cosmetic work and strategic positioning, I was able to make the body presentable for an open casket service without revealing the true nature of his final illness. The family also insisted on cremation immediately after the service, despite the fact that the actor had expressed a preference for burial. They were terrified that future exhumation might reveal evidence of his condition, so they destroyed the physical evidence along with his remains. To this day, official records list the actor's cause of death as heart failure, and his clean-cut image remains intact for new generations of fans. In 1992, I was called to handle arrangements for a famous singer who died of a drug overdose in a hotel room. This wasn't just any overdose. The singer had been found with enough heroin in his system to kill several people, surrounded by drug paraphernalia and in the company of known dealers. The family's first request was shocking. They wanted me to remove the singer's body from the hotel and transport it to his home, where it would be discovered by family members the next morning. We needed to look like he died peacefully in his sleep at home, the family lawyer explained. The hotel death makes it look sordid. Dying at home makes it look tragic. Moving a body from the actual place of death to a fake death scene would have been illegal evidence tampering, and I refused. But the family had other ways of controlling the story. They paid the hotel management a substantial sum to keep staff quiet about the circumstances of the discovery. They hired a private cleaning company to sanitize the room before police could thoroughly process it. And they worked with a sympathetic coroner to minimize details about drug paraphernalia in the official report, at the funeral. They insisted on a closed casket, claiming the singer's family wanted privacy. In reality, the overdose had left visible damage that no amount of cosmetic work could hide, and they couldn't risk anyone seeing the evidence of how he really died. The public story became that a beloved singer had died suddenly of heart complications at his home, surrounded by family. The reality was a sordid drug death in a hotel room with strangers, but that truth was buried along with the singer. Some of the most disturbing requests came from families dealing with suicide deaths. Hollywood has always struggled with mental health issues, but admitting that a star died by suicide can devastate their posthumous earning potential and traumatize fans. In 1995, I handled arrangements for a young actress who had hanged herself in her apartment after struggling with depression and substance abuse. The family was desperate to prevent this suicide from becoming public knowledge. Their first request was that I alter the body to hide evidence of hanging. They wanted me to use makeup and positioning to eliminate any visible signs of how she died, so that if anyone saw the body, it would appear she had died of natural causes. More disturbing was their second request. They wanted me to stage the body in her apartment to make it look like she had died of an accidental overdose instead of suicide. "We'll provide the pills," the family representative said. "Just arrange them around the body and call it in as an overdose." Accidental overdose is tragic but not shameful. Suicide destroys everything. I refused to participate in evidence tampering, but I did agree to cosmetic work that would hide the physical signs of hanging. The family ultimately decided to go with a closed casket and a public story about accidental overdose, working with corrupt officials to alter the official cause of death. To this day, that actress is remembered as someone who died tragically young from accidental drug use, not as someone who lost a battle with depression and took her own life. But not all the bizarre requests were about hiding causes of death. Sometimes families wanted to hide other secrets, and they used funeral arrangements to destroy evidence. In 1998, I handled arrangements for a major film director who died of cancer. During his final illness, his family had discovered evidence of serious financial crimes, tax evasion, money laundering, and theft from charitable organizations. Rather than deal with the scandal posthumously, they decided to literally bury the evidence with the director's body. "We want you to place these documents in the casket," they explained, showing me boxes of financial records, hard drives, and videotapes. "They need to be destroyed, but we can't risk them being found in a fire or shredder. Burial is the safest disposal method." They were essentially asking me to help them obstruct justice by destroying evidence of federal crimes. When I hesitated, they offered me a $75,000 bonus and pointed out that once the casket was sealed and buried, the evidence would be legally protected from search warrants that I agreed to place the materials in the casket, though I later questioned whether I should have reported the crimes instead. That director is still celebrated as a humanitarian and artist. With no public knowledge of his financial crimes, some requests involved protecting family secrets that had nothing to do with the celebrity's death. In 2001, I handled arrangements for a legendary actor who died of natural causes at an advanced age. His death wasn't controversial, but his family life was complicated. The actor had been secretly married to 2 different women simultaneously. One official marriage that was public knowledge, and a second marriage that had been kept hidden for decades to avoid bigamy charges. Both wives showed up at my funeral home claiming to be his widow and demanding control over his body and burial arrangements. The situation became a bizarre legal battle fought over a corpse. The official widow wanted a traditional Hollywood funeral with full media coverage, celebrating their long marriage and his career achievements. The secret widow wanted a private ceremony acknowledging their hidden relationship and their children, who were also secret. Ultimately, the families reached a financial settlement that gave the official widow control of the public funeral and burial, while the secret wife received a substantial payout to remain quiet about her marriage and children. The actor was buried with full honors as a devoted husband and family man, while his actual family structure remained hidden from public view. But perhaps the most disturbing category of requests involved families who wanted to use funeral arrangements for revenge against their deceased relatives. In 2003, I handled arrangements for a pop singer who had died of complications from plastic surgery. The singer had been estranged from her family for years due to disputes over money and control of a career. Instead of setting aside their grievances to honor her memory, the family used her death as an opportunity for posthumous humiliation. They requested that I prepare the body to deliberately highlight the results of her cosmetic surgeries, using makeup and positioning to make her artificial enhancements as obvious as possible. She always said she was naturally beautiful, her mother told me. We want everyone to see how fake she really was. They also insisted on displaying childhood photos at the service that showed her before extensive dental work, nose jobs, and other procedures, creating a stark contrast with her surgically altered appearance. The family's goal was to publicly shame her for her vanity and artificial appearance, using her own funeral as a platform for humiliation. The secret widow wanted a private ceremony acknowledging their hidden relationship and their children, who were also secret. Ultimately, the families reached a financial settlement that gave the official widow control of the public funeral and burial, while the secret wife received a substantial payout to remain quiet about her marriage and children. The actor was buried with full honors as a devoted husband and family man, while his actual family structure remained hidden from public view. But perhaps the most disturbing category of requests involved families who wanted to use funeral arrangements for revenge against their deceased relatives. In 2003, I handled arrangements for a pop singer who had died of complications from plastic surgery. It was one of the cruelest things I witnessed in 25 years of funeral service. Working in Hollywood's death industry taught me that celebrity families often care more about protecting their financial interests than honoring their loved ones' memories. Death becomes just another business transaction, with funeral arrangements designed to maximize profit and minimize scandal. The most tragic cases involved young stars whose families were more concerned with preserving marketability than processing grief. Parents would make decisions about their children's funerals based on focus group research and marketing consultation rather than personal or religious beliefs. I remember handling arrangements for a teen pop star who died in a car accident. Her family hired a marketing firm to analyze which funeral approach would be most beneficial for her posthumous album sales. They tested different memorial concepts with fan focus groups, measuring emotional responses to various funeral themes and imagery. The final service was designed like a product launch, calculated to maximize sympathy and drive music sales. Every element of that funeral, from the flower arrangements to the eulogy content, was market tested and optimized for commercial impact rather than genuine tribute over time. I began to feel like I was participating in elaborate lies rather than helping families process grief and honor their loved ones. The constant deception, evidence destruction, and reputation management made me question whether I was providing a legitimate service or enabling a corrupt system. In 2010, I decided to retire and sell my funeral home to a larger corporation. I couldn't continue participating in the systematic dishonesty that surrounded celebrity death in Hollywood. But the secrets I learned during those 25 years have stayed with me. I know which beloved stars died of AIDS when their families claimed heart failure. I know which accidental overdoses were actually suicides. I know which squeaky clean family men were actually bigamists, criminals, or worse. I've buried evidence of tax evasion, money laundering, domestic violence, child abuse, and fraud. I've helped families destroy records, alter official documents, and deceive law enforcement agencies. Most disturbing of all, I've watched families use their loved ones' deaths as opportunities for profit, revenge, and reputation management rather than genuine mourning and remembrance. Hollywood's death industry is built on lies, and I was complicit in maintaining those lies for a quarter century. The public deserves to know that the carefully crafted stories surrounding celebrity deaths are often elaborate fictions designed to protect fortunes rather than honor lives. Every time you see a touching celebrity funeral or read about a star's peaceful death, remember that teams of professionals worked behind the scenes to create that narrative. Regardless of what actually happened, death may be universal, but in Hollywood, even death is just another performance.